So I'm sitting here with Dorian Yates, the Dorian Yates. 6 times Mr. Olympia back in the days. And we are sitting here in Marbella. This is your new home? You're living?
I've been living in Marbella about 6 years now, on the Costa del Sol, south of Spain. And a lot of people ask me why I'm in Spain. Well, you know, look around.
You see it, okay.
There's a big British community here, so I had a lot of people that I knew here, a lot of friends, a lot of contacts, and started coming out here on some vacations, and then decided to live here. It's a beautiful place to live, great weather, good food, good gyms, everything, and beaches, mountains. So compared to the UK with the weather, which I think is pretty much the same like Germany. So
oh yes, especially in March.
Yeah.
So, and it's a chill place, but now we are right into the kind of interview. So the first question, and you answered a little bit of it already, is what is the biggest difference, you would say, about, from your old days, the Dorian Yates we know as bodybuilding fans, and the Dorian Yates I'm talking now with?
Well, I'm a lot older. That's the first thing. You know, Dorian Yates, the bodybuilder, was just on a mission. Was a man on a mission, totally focused on one thing, on one goal, in being the best bodybuilder he could, and building the best physique, and trying to push the boundaries of what that is and what's possible. When I was young, I was like, I want to give this everything, because when I'm older and I'm sitting back, I don't want to have regrets, like I should have, maybe could have done more or something like that. So I feel very comfortable, very satisfied that I gave everything I could to my sport, and I tried to take it to another level, instead of just being, you know, kind of comfortable with what the standard was at the time and so on.
And you achieved it.
I believe I achieved it, that I set a new standard for size and combined with conditioning for the sport. And some people think that's good, some people think it's bad, but everyone will recognize that the Dorian Yates brought in a new kind of era in the 90s.
So then let's talk about the Dorian Yates from now. So what's the biggest difference, would you say, from personality, person?
Well, I'm much more relaxed now. I'm not on a mission, you know, I'm enjoying life much more, and I'm not so one-dimensional as you have to be if you're really focusing on something, a sport or a business or whatever it is. You're going to put all your energy and all your focus into this, so you don't have a lot of time, attention, energy for things outside of that. So now I think I'm more of a rounded person with my lifestyle, and of course I have a few injuries from the heavy bodybuilding training and some other sports I did afterwards and so on. So the training is different. I would like to do more bodybuilding, but the injuries kind of don't allow me to do that. But I enjoy to be physical. I like to ride bike, I like to go hiking,
it's your nature,
yoga,
right?
You know, so I like to do physical things as well. And of course now I'm probably more interested in spiritual aspects of life and so on, with yoga, with meditation, and of course the experiences I had with psychedelics and so on. So I think, you know, a more mature, rounded person. If I was the same person as I was when I was 30, then I think that would be, something would be wrong there.
Yeah. So you wouldn't say you regret something? It was just another part of your life, and you just closed this case? Regret
is not really the way I think. Maybe if I had the wisdom, the experience I had now, then I could avoid maybe some injuries and so on, because I was so focused. I never wanted to slow down. I never wanted to take it easy. I still have that little bit inside of me, but I'm more, you know, I'm more mature, more rounded now. So probably I could go back and give advice, but then, you know, this kind of overriding passion and drive, that got me to where I was. So maybe that shouldn't have changed. You know, it's bodybuilding is much more international now. The sport of bodybuilding and fitness is international. We have the internet. Back then it was really mainly in the USA, bodybuilding. So for a guy to come from England, in a small gym in England, to go to be the best in the world was really kind of unbelievable for people. But I believed it at some point that it was possible. That's that was the thing. It was different back then. Now it's much more available for everybody, the information and so on.
So if you could now travel back in time, 30 years, 35 years, and you meet the old Dorian Yates, would you have an advice for him? What to do or not to do? Or would you say, just make your thing?
I would say, you know, maybe you can enjoy it a bit more. You can relax a little bit more sometimes. And you could also take some time to learn maybe some other things rather than just being a 100% tunnel vision. Maybe. But the tunnel vision got me there, so maybe you shouldn't undo it. You know, it's like going back in time and undoing things that change the whole future. So
maybe you wouldn't sit here, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, who knows. You know, even the injury I had, the injury in the end, which stopped me from competing in '97, tricep tear, that ended my career. But maybe it was the time to end. So, you know, I'm kind of philosophical about these things. I don't have, what you say, regrets. You know, everything led to me to being where I am now, and I'm pretty happy, so it's okay.
So what's your connection now to the bodybuilding whole scene, to the business?
Well, I have my company, NPNutrition, that's gone through various phases. It was a very small company. I was just running myself with a couple of people. Now we have a bigger team, more people involved, more investment, and making a bigger company and different ranges. We have the bodybuilding range, the shadow line, which is really more like a bodybuilding or sports nutrition or hardcore line, if you like, which is probably more reflective of Dorian Yates, the bodybuilder. And now we're bringing out more products for health and wellness and so on, which is really where I'm at now in life. So bringing out a wide range of products and getting into more and more markets. And I'm also helping and advising people online with my website, DY Academy, helping people with their training, with my personal advice. So they get really personal advice from me, diets, training and so on. And seeing people improve there, that's great. And actually the majority of the people are not competitive bodybuilders, they're just people that want to build up or they want to lose weight and so on. So I'm enjoying helping people there. So I'm still connected to the sport, and you know, various appearances I do still, talking and seminars. It's been quiet, of course, because of this COVID situation we're in, but I'm looking forward to getting out there more, hopefully. The Arnold Classic is this year in Arnold Sports Festival in the UK, and hopefully we can get over to the Olympia, which I wasn't able to last year. I'm normally there every year. And sometimes I run training camps and things like that, as the guys came over, you know, with yourself from Germany, came and had the experience of training with me. I enjoy that in the gym, teaching people to a degree. It's not something I do full time, but I still really enjoy the gym and the training, which was always my passion, over and above everything else in the bodybuilding experience, really.
You changed the way, but it's still the lifestyle, right?
Yeah, and I think my method of training that I had that took me to this level is still the most effective way to train if you do it properly. So people come and they learn directly from me sometimes, and we have certifications as well, where they really experience it in all the little different things and techniques and body positioning and how the speed to move the weight, all these different things. So I enjoy teaching that and passing it on and seeing how it helps other people.
So you're still very present in the sport, and you still have the name. Would you say you are an ambassador of the sports until today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I have done quite a bit of speaking on podcasts and so on, and outside of the normal bodybuilding area. I think I was probably the first bodybuilder to start talking on podcasts that are outside. I did Joe Rogan's podcast, I did London Real, of course, Value Entertainment, and those podcasts now have had other bodybuilding personalities on there. And I think I was able to show that bodybuilder is not necessarily the stereotype that people think, and it's not so one-dimensional, and had something else to say, and you know, picked up a lot of fans probably from those talks by just really being myself.
Talking about those podcasts, so one of the main thing, and I think it was maybe popping up with you, or you would get the question from others, was the the comparison of bodybuilders in the 90s, especially from your area up to Ronnie Coleman, and ending maybe with Ronnie Coleman and the new area. So many people said, okay, the new Mr. Olympias, the last 3 ones, wouldn't be in the top 6 back in the 90s. All the discussions, I think you heard of it. So I don't want to ask you about this again, but what do you think, if we look behind it, is the biggest difference, if there is something, between bodybuilding in this area, from you up to Coleman, and today's bodybuilding? Maybe not just from the professionals, but also the whole sports.
Well, it's very different. Everything's always changing and evolving. Nothing stays the same, and that's the way of everything. So it would be different from the 70s when it was Arnold's era, to the 90s when it was my era, and then now to the era now. One of the big changes is now it's not just bodybuilding. In the 90s it was just bodybuilding. You had men's bodybuilding and you had women's bodybuilding, and that was it. Now you have a whole range of classes, from women's bikini, and so many different women's classes, and then you have the men's physique, which started out to be like a beach body, and the classic physique now, which is a weight over height ratio and bodybuilding. And of course then you have the internet, which really has changed everything. So now you have people on the internet that are, experts and athletes and ambassadors and so on. So it's much wider than before. It was just purely bodybuilding, and now you have all these different categories, and even people online that don't compete, and they're making their living from being involved in the sport and so on. So it's much different. In my time, it was had to get into a magazine to get publicity for yourself, which wasn't easy. You had to win a contest, and then to make a living, again, you have to win contests and get endorsement contracts and everything. So it is a lot different, and I think a lot more people involved now in the fitness industry, if you want to call it that. It's not really bodybuilding. It's a much broader industry than before, let's say.
When it comes to the usual training today, to the methods the people use, and also the nutrition, would you say something changed there? Not just improved, but changed, and maybe we lost something?
Yeah, I think somehow lost the passion a little bit about the training, and everybody's now asking maybe too many technical questions without. You can have all this information, but unless you go do some fucking heavy lifting, as I say, it's all irrelevant. You've got to train hard, and that's the heart of the sport. Now it's a little bit more about which outfit you've got and these kind of things.
Yeah.
Before it was a different environment. The gyms were much more hardcore. The atmosphere was hardcore. Now you have gyms where even bodybuilders are not welcome. Big guys that lift big weights and make a lot of noise and all these kind of things, they're not welcome in a lot of gyms because the gym has become very commercial for the average person, and the management feel that this kind of people in the gym is intimidating to the average person or whatever. I think they should be inspiring, but and it's a shame, because without bodybuilding there really would be no gym industry. It was just guys that wanted to lift weights, and then small little gyms. That's how this whole thing started and grew into the industry it is today. So I think some of the passion has been lost. I don't see people in the gym training as hard or having that interest or pride in training hard as they did before.
Try to find the shortest way, always.
Yeah, and thinking the answer is in some combination of chemicals or supplements or food. They all play their part, but you still, the heart of it for me, the thing that I really loved was the training and going to the gym and pushing myself and pushing the people you're training with and trying to lift more weight and everything like that. So that's been lost a little bit, but I don't want to sound like an old guy that's complaining, because when I was in the 90s, there was people from the 70s and 80s saying, oh no, it was better when we were like this, and everything changes. It's inevitable. So it's different now, that's it.
So we talked about the Dorian Yates from back in the days and from today, and you said you're much more relaxed today. So when it comes to your nickname, the Shadow, and to the fact that you were never smiling on the stage, so what would you say? Is it because of a difference now in the personality? Would you smile now, or is it still something you say that was not just your style?
I smile more now, but I smile when I feel like smiling, and I couldn't smile for the camera. I couldn't do this full smile for the camera. I didn't feel like smiling. I didn't feel like smiling on stage. I felt like I was in a competition. I was in a war, and that was just me. It was not an act. It was just me being me. And now I'm more relaxed and probably smiling and talking a lot more. I even didn't like to do interviews and talk back then, but I got used to it over the years. I got to enjoy to be able to communicate and talk, and people like to hear me talk, so I talk a lot more now and more relaxed. So yeah, I was an intense young guy, and I just wanted to win and then go back to the gym and do it all over again.
So it was not just a lack of humor?
No, in my private time I could be pretty funny, but when I'm on stage it's not a funny time. I wanted to, I felt like I wanted to destroy everybody. So that was my mindset, more maybe like a boxer or something. I was almost thinking like that. I mean, you don't go around hitting anybody in bodybuilding, but just that real intense, focused mindset that I was there to win, and I didn't feel like smiling. I remember Joe Weider, of course, huge name in the sport. If anybody doesn't know him, they should do. Joe Weider was the guy that created the Mr. Olympia and created all the magazines that promoted the sport and brought Arnold to the USA and all this stuff. Joe Weider came to my photo shoots and he was trying to get me to smile. In the end, he just gave up and it's just like, just let this guy do what he wants. Just like, I can't get him to smile.
That's his style.
Yeah,
in the end.
That's his style, and in the end, it worked for me.
Yeah.
I was just being myself. I was not acting, and in the pictures, I was always looking like mean and like a tough guy and everything. It's not really me, but I couldn't smile, so that was the look I went for.
Seeing all the stages now from outside, would you say you miss this aspect of the sports? More competitive, like in the old days? More trash talking before the competition starts and whatever, so more the serious game behind it, but then give your hand.
Well, I was not really trash talking. Maybe some of the other guys were. I was always reverting to like, it doesn't matter what you say, because when we get on the stage, then you're going to have the end product and all your words is going to disappear to nothing. So I was always really focused on the training, and if somebody was talking something negative about me, I would just use that. I would just use it as a fuel to, fire me up even more. But I'm not in the sport now, I'm not competing, so it's not something that I can miss. I'm just saying that I really enjoyed those times, and I think it was a very special era in bodybuilding when there was so many great bodybuilders, so many great physiques, so many great personalities, and it was the time when bodybuilding really exploded, I think. You had the 70s, you had the Arnold, and you had the pumping ironers starting to get some interest, and then the 80s it was really growing, and then the 90s it became much bigger, and there's more money in the sport for the guys and so on, so people were making a good living, where before it was maybe a little bit more difficult. And now, now it's different. Now there's a lot of avenues that people can make money, even if they're not professionals.
So in many interviews you said something to the fans, so some like advices. People always ask you for advices. You also are a personal coach, and what I would ask you now is not advices for all the training people out there, but maybe some advices for all the bodybuilding stars out there. So all the bodybuilders who achieved maybe their goals, like some people like Dexter Jackson or Phil Heath or whatever, would you have an advice for them? How to maybe calm down, go out of the game or go not out of the game, whatever. So
well, it's a very difficult thing to do, or at least I found it, because that I was so immersed in this thing, so focused. It was my whole life, and when it was not there anymore, the competition, it was very hard for a few years, and I think that's a transition maybe you should put some thought into before it happens, which we really don't. You know, as athletes, we're just doing what we're doing, and then one day it's finished. I don't say I wish, because it's the wrong way to say it, but it would have been good for me if I had spent some time studying finances and business and so on while I was an athlete, because when you come out of it and you don't know anything about it, you're trusting other people and so on. So it's very easy to lose money, and you need to have experience in business and dealing with people and so on. So that's one aspect that maybe people should spend a bit more time. I should have spent more time doing that when I was competing. And on the positive side, it's like, you've got a lot of time now to do and pursue other things that maybe you would like to do in your life and like to achieve in your life. Whereas when you're bodybuilding, it's very restricted. You have to eat so many times a day, you have to rest, you can't travel too much, you can't go here, you can't do that. So look on the bright side now, as the whole world is your oyster. You can go and do what you want to do. So, I still love bodybuilding, it's still part of my life, but it's not my life. So there's many other things you can go and experience, and I think it's a shame if all you do all your life is just bodybuilding, and there's so many other things you can experience.
Do you miss aspects of this life?
Yeah, I miss in a way, sometimes I miss that routine, that discipline, that striving for the goal. But that's part of my life that was then, and now I do other things. So I don't say missing it, and I don't say regrets. Life is always evolving, and I've done other things and experienced other things since bodybuilding that I couldn't while I was bodybuilding. So it's about being more rounded at the end, I think.
And you don't miss to be the biggest guy in every room you step in?
Absolutely not. I mean, as far as like having the physique, being that size and everything, it's of no use to me now. There's no point. I like to stay healthy, I like to stay in good shape. I would like to do more weights if I could. But as long as I'm healthy, I can move, I can do things. I enjoy walking in the mountains. I enjoy doing yoga, riding my bike, different things. So, having the physique for me was for competitions. It wasn't just for my ego that I wanted to be the biggest guy walking in the room. I didn't care about that, and I don't care about it now. So I don't need to be that size now. It's of no use to me. And now I can go to Hugo Boss and I can buy a suit from the rack. So I celebrate that. I don't worry about. I have to. Of course, there's some pressure. You've been Mr. Olympia, and there's certain maybe pressure or expectation that you'd still be always this big guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never be a really small guy because I'm, naturally fairly muscular and so on. So even if I don't weight train, I still got a pretty good physique. But that's good enough for me. I'm never going to be an out of shape guy or fat or something like that, because I like to eat well, and I like to train, and I like to do some exercise. So the muscle size, I don't miss that at all. It's nice to go back and look at what I did and say, sometimes freak myself out, like what the hell, But now, no, I just like to stay in good shape. That's it.
So you mentioned the injuries. So
yeah.
What are the injuries or maybe health problems you took away from this area, with the whole mess and whatever?
Well, I had a bicep tear and a tricep tear on my left arm during my career, and some damage to my shoulder. Then after my career was finished, I was doing other sports, and I was doing some wrestling with a friend of mine and jiu-jitsu, and I fell very badly on my shoulder and tore the rotor cuff, which I had surgery on a couple of times, but it never got back to being, strong and functional. So I always had a problem with the left shoulder. Recently I fell off my mountain bike, which has nothing to do with the bodybuilding career, but maybe the tendons were already damaged from all the heavy lifting, and I fell off the bike and dislocated my shoulder 3 months ago actually, so I'm still recovering from that. So at the moment, training upper body is difficult. I'm just doing a lot of rehab stuff to strengthen the shoulder, and I want to avoid having more surgeries, which is very, it's pain, it's inconvenience, it's time, and you don't know how the surgery is going to turn out. I had 2 surgeries on my left shoulder, and it didn't really help me too much. So I'm just working on rehabbing the shoulder now. So those are the injuries that cause me some inconvenience at the moment. But there's nothing major, you know. My spine is in good shape. One of my knees is a little bit worn. But anyone that does a sport at that level, even if you play soccer, you're going to have some knee problem or ankle problem or something when you get older.
What about long-term side effects of all the chemicals you have to use during competition?
You know, as far as I know, I'm fine. I had actually a thrombosis this year in my leg, but doctors don't know why that happened, and I'm fine now. So, you know, hopefully I don't have any long-term effects, but it's like, you know, I compare it to smoking. Maybe you smoke for 20 years and you don't know what it does to your body, but obviously taking anabolics in the amounts that we do as bodybuilders on a long term is not a healthy thing to do. So I will never say that's healthy to do. Taking testosterone replacement as you get older, I believe, is a good and positive and healthy thing to do, but the amounts that we use in sports and bodybuilding is not a healthy thing. But I did it when I was young, you know. I finished the sport when I was 35, so
you got something out of it.
Yeah, so it's not something to take lightly, especially if you're not competing. You have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Any potential risks.
So do you still take something now?
I take testosterone replacement. I've done that for 20 years because I stopped all the stuff after I finished bodybuilding, and my natural levels didn't recover after a couple of years, so I just went to testosterone replacement, small amounts, to keep it in the normal range, which is more healthy for you, especially as you get older.
So would you say you did it a smart way, whatever you did, or that you were just a lucky guy now that you're sitting here and you're more healthy than maybe some other people?
Well, I don't know about being smart, you know. I mean, I pushed it a little bit for a few years when I was Mr. Olympia. But yeah, not reckless and not for too long. I took times off and so on. So, yeah, maybe I'm lucky, or maybe I didn't. I certainly didn't do what people think that I did, you know, because I was breaking this barrier of being size and muscle and everything like that. People assumed I was on huge abusive amounts. Yeah, I was on and off, but not what people think. I mean, I have people come to me and they show me what they're using, and they're using more than I did for Mr. Olympia, and they're not even competing. So this is, you know, with the internet and everything, people get the wrong information. And again, it's, you know, it was a personal choice I made to compete. I realized to be on an even level, you have to use anabolics. So I tried to do it without abusing too much. But of course, anything over a small amount is probably abuse.
Of course.
But definitely not the monstrous amounts that people assumed that I was taking. I was totally dedicated to the sport, and my training was insanely intense all the time. So you can't build a physique just by taking huge amounts. You can get bigger maybe, but you won't have the quality physique. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there who probably took more than I did and didn't even get to be a professional.
What is your typical today's routine? So what does it,
well,
how does
there's the thing. It depends where I am. So if I'm at home, I don't exactly have a routine, but normally in the morning I do some meditation and or some breath work. Unless it's raining, I usually go for a little swim in the sea and walk the dog and so on. And then I go to the gym or yoga or whatever I'm doing for that day, physical activity, or riding bike or something. If I have somebody that I'm helping or somebody I'm training, I might be in the gym a bit longer training them. And then in the late afternoon, evenings, I work online, do emails, calls, and helping clients and so on. And the evening, just relaxing or going to dinner when the restaurants are open. Reading, watching movies. Watching movies is something I did as Mr. Olympia a lot, because you know, something you can do at home. So I still like watching movies or documentary series and stuff like that, relaxing at home. So that's kind of, you know, yeah, kind of a relaxed routine. Some work, some training, some relaxing, mix it up. And if I'm traveling and working, then it's a bit different. Sometimes it's quite intense, making appearances and seminars and so on. I still do promotions, so then the routine changes a little bit. But if I'm at home, that's normally it. Come down here, we're by the sea, walk my dog, sometimes do yoga out on the grass, go to the gym, train myself, whatever I'm doing there, cardio, a little bit of functional movements and so on. And I might be helping somebody in the gym, so I might be there a few hours and then work at home for a few hours, and that's it, really.
And you're still drinking protein shakes?
Occasionally, yeah. I'm having actually sometimes using a vegan shake now. We got one in the range, so I'm using that. I'm using some amino acids. Sometimes a pre-workout with citrulline to help the blood flow, but I don't use stimulants anymore, like the heavy pre-workout stimulant stuff that I used to use. So I'm still using some supplements, some protein, some amino acids, a lot of more like health-related products, like antioxidants, herbs, fish oils, supplements for the joints, and so on. So I take a lot of supplements, but not so much bodybuilding supplements.
What is your thought about Kevin Gebhardt? You saw him before and you worked out with him.
We're talking about Big Kev now.
Big Kevin.
It was two Kevins, so we got tall
Okay,
Kevin,
the bigger Kevin,
and shorter Kevin. Well, first of all, his back is like, wow, it's pretty spectacular. I never saw somebody with stretch marks on their lats before, but he got stretch marks, so yeah. I didn't even achieve that. Yeah, he's got a great back, a lot of muscle mass for his frame. His weak point was the chest. He has to work on a little bit, and he has a good attitude. He trained very hard in the gym with me, gave it everything he's got, he's dedicated, and I think he may be coming out here a little bit more to spend some time, so I think he's got great potential. I haven't seen him compete yet, but he's in pretty good shape already, so yeah, I think he's got potential to do well in professionals.
So the last one, what do we don't know about the Dorian Yates from today? Can you say something about you, what people out there normally don't know, and what you think of maybe now?
Well, one thing that people don't know is, let me see, well, the wildlife thing I talked about, so now they know. But one of my favorite things to do, and normally I go with my daughter, sometimes I go with my wife, is to go to the theatre. I like to go to the theatre and watch musicals. I think me and my daughter, we watch about 20 different musicals now in London. So it's our little thing that we do together. We go down there and stay in a hotel and go to the theatre. So I enjoy that. It's probably something that people don't know.
Mm-hmm. Then, thank you very much, Dorian Yates.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you here, the legend,
Thanks.
and to talk to you like this.
What's up to all the people in Germany?
Now?
Deutschland.
They are all in the lockdown now, so
yeah, well,
I think they are very jealous about our situation right here.
Yeah, we're sending some sunshine all the way to
hopefully
Deutschland,
I can get it in my bag.
Spain, from me. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right,
it was
man.
a pleasure to meet
Thank
you.
you. Cheers.
Thank you for watching, and if you like talking like this with Dorian Yates, and maybe you would like to have another talk with Dorian Yates, we can visit him here again, then please give us one like and subscribe to our channel on NPNutrition, and hopefully we'll see you again.
It's called having a chat in English. Having a chat.
We're having just a relaxed chat here.
Yes.
Okay. See ya, and next time. Subscribe, comments, questions, whatever. See ya.
Three, go!